Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Jess. I'm making this video today for people who are new to Chanel, or maybe you're considering getting a mini flap bag. I know when I first got into Chanel, my dream bag was definitely a backpack and a little cutesy mini flap, and I was heavily influenced by people like celebrities like Alexa Chung and just things I saw in the magazines of people with their little mini squares. And I really wanted to get a black mini square in caviar because back in about 2017 I was a little bit scared of the lambskin and I wanted something I could wear day to day and it'd be more durable. And I think if I were to start my Chanel collection again, there are a few things I would have done differently, and I'm going to talk about those things with you guys today. So if back in 2017, before I had any Chanel bags, I was buying vintage Chanel bags back then and like secondhand Louis Vuitton and Gucci bags. But one of my first Chanel bags from the boutique was my Gabrielle backpack, which I do love and I wear it quite a lot. It was a really useful and practical bag for me, one of my first Chanel bags. But after getting this, I still had that real desire to get like a little classic looking Chanel bag, and I didn't even consider the medium or small classic flap because back then I just thought, you know, I wanted something cheaper and more of an entry-level piece. So the classic flap was well over my budget, so I thought for me the mini would be a great option. And unfortunately guys, when you start collecting Chanel, you kind of just want it all. And if I had known like back then that I would have wanted like all of these bags, I would have bought the more expensive ones first, but you know, you just never really know. So actually, if you're considering buying a mini flap, I'd also consider the medium and small size flaps if you really want them, because the sooner you buy those, probably the better saving you're going to get, because they're just going up in price so much. And I actually find that the double flap bags have a little bit more versatility to them as well. I'm going to say that it really depends on your height, it depends on your body stature as to whether you find like a medium or small classic flap or a mini more useful to you. So for me personally, if I was to start my collection again, I would have probably invested in a small caviar black gold classic flap back in 2017, because I actually find that the small flap is really great because it has the 4 grommets. Now the thing about the small flap is that it's not that good of a crossbody unless you're kind of have a shorter torso or you're a little bit more, like, it's not even got to do with your height or your weight, it's more got to do with your torso length. Like if you're really short but you have a long torso, you're still going to find this quite uncomfortable. So the small, the good thing about it is it's got the 4 grommets, whereas the minis tend to not have 4 grommets, and you can wear it like this. And I find that with the small you can also wear it, for me I can wear it as a crossbody. So actually I find the small to be a little bit more of a practical size than the mini, because it's just that little bit bigger, but it's still quite a cute little mini bag and fits all the necessities. I also love how it has a little bit more detail and compartments. So for a first Chanel bag, if you're okay with wearing a small classic flap crossbody and you want to have a crossbody, like maybe you don't even want to have a crossbody, but I know for a lot of people crossbody is really important, I'd even consider the small classic flap as a first bag before the mini, because it's got the 4 grommets and you might find that later down the line you might want to get that anyway. If you're someone who doesn't want to get the double flap, I'm going to compare for you guys a few mini options that you could go for. Now, these are going to include some pre-loved options, because I don't know about you guys, but a lot of bags that, you know, are very sought after from Chanel, very hard to get in the boutique anyway. So sometimes it's good to look at the pre-love market, and you might have more color options and you might be able to find like a deal or something as well. I would say like it's best to get first for your first bag a black bag, unless you're like a pastel pink kind of gal. Black is always the best way to go with Chanel, honestly. Like color transfer, just the longevity of it, the versatility of it, also the classic look of the black contrasting with the hardware. I would always say go for black first, unless you hate black, honestly. And so my first mini was the rectangle mini, which I actually wanted the square, but The rectangle is a great option if you're taller as well, because the chain is a lot longer. The rectangle mini is also a little bit more practical because it's a longer shape, and it's going to be able to accommodate bigger phones as opposed to the square mini. So this is from 2018. It's in caviar leather, and I would say for minis, I actually much prefer caviar, only because when you're wearing it, it's actually going to be rubbing on your pants, and I find that sometimes some of the modern day lambskins are quite delicate, and the abrasion from you wearing it crossbody can often cause, I don't know, a bit of friction, and it can affect the leather long term. Whereas if it's in a little bit more of a durable leather, you're not going to show, there's not going to be much wear and tear on it at all. So that's the rectangle mini on me. It's a little bit long, but sometimes I adjust the chain from the inside and bring it up here. But it is such a cute little bag. And I did have a lambskin chevron mini as well, but I sold it to fund a dream bag. But the lambskin, it is really beautiful. If I was going to get a mini in lambskin, I would opt for the top handle mini, because that way you can just carry it as a top handle as well, and it's not going to be rubbing on your clothes. Because with a classic flap in lambskin, the thing about it is you can just kind of carry it like this or under here. When you wear a bag crossbody, it really rubs on your clothes pretty rapidly, and it does cause friction on the back. So if it's in lambskin, if it's in a delicate lambskin, it's going to show signs of wear a lot faster as opposed to a thicker or more durable leather. So I would always, for a mini, go for something a little bit more durable, unless it has a top handle, because if it has a top handle, you can carry it like that and it's not going to be rubbing on your clothes. Same with light colored bags. I would say for a crossbody, I'm not a huge fan of light colored bags because it means you can't really wear them with dark jeans and that sort of thing. Unless it has a top handle, you can carry it away from your jeans. Just things like that I find with minis. A lot of people end up, you know, not being that happy with the lambskin minis because they do show signs of wear kind of fast. But again, it depends on the season. Some lambskin is a little bit more durable than others. Obviously, if you want a caviar square mini, you can't get it anymore. I have seen Chanel doing some really interesting seasonal variations. Recently, there was like a calf skin that came out in this like marshmallow finish. And that, oh, actually, no, it's not calf skin, it's goat skin. And goat skin is a lot more durable than lambskin. It has more of a thick kind of grainy texture to it. So I feel like that wouldn't show wear as much, but given it's this light marshmallow color, that's probably not going to be an everyday bag. But I'm sure that the leather, in terms of scratchability and tearing of the leather, it's not going to be as delicate as the lambskin tends to be. Go for a vintage style like a Diana flap or a vintage mini square in lamb. The lambskin is going to be a little bit more durable just depending on the year. There are some vintage bags in lambskin that are still very delicate, and I've had those before, but it's really about, I mean, it's good if you can go to a secondhand store yourself and feel and touch the leathers, and you can really tell if something is going to be easy to really, you know, scratch. My vintage one, I purchased this recently on eBay for a really good deal. So vintage, I would also highly suggest if you're looking for a mini bag, especially because with the vintage ones you can get the super yellow gold hardware, whereas with the modern day minis they tend to come in brushed gold hardware or champagne. So I do have a brushed gold hardware tweed. In the blacks, they tend to only do champagne gold or silver though. So that's a tweed one, which this is a little bit more of a delicate bag as well, and will probably show signs of bobbling if I wear it crossbody quite a lot too. So to prevent that, I would even suggest to get like some sort of like Samorga top handle chain or something, like the pearl chain, so you can carry it just like that. Because I'm telling you, as this rubs, it's going to start balling, and as much as I love the tweed, it is more of a delicate option as well. But yeah, tweed for Chanel is very classic, so I don't blame you guys if you want to get tweed for your first Chanel bag. But given the nature of the fabric, it isn't something that's gonna look as new longer as like a caviar leather or something like that. Patent leather, I think it's also a pretty durable option for day to day in black, but you will find that as patent gets older, it starts getting sticky and it ages. In black you can't really tell as much of like a color change, but definitely I've noticed in colored patent bags they tend to slightly change color over time, so that's something to keep in mind as well if you're going to go for a patent bag. I quite like the features on the vintage square because it has this beautiful detail on the inside, and it has these little bits at the side which are a little bit different to the modern day mini, because on the modern day they just have like pieces of fabric. Day square mini, and you can see that on the sides it is kind of secured like this, whereas on the vintage one it's got a little hook detail like this, which is quite cute. Also on the vintage square mini it's a lot more square in shape. In the modern day ones they tend to be a lot chunkier, so they're thicker this way but they're a little bit shorter, I think slightly, but I think they fit a very similar amount, to be honest. This one is a little bit more of like a pudgy look and this one's more of a boxy look. And as you can see at the back, I don't know, but for some reason my sides are a bit like weird. Have a look guys when you're buying your minis in store as well. You'll find that sometimes the sides are a bit like warped. I don't know what that's about. On my vintage one they seem a little bit more proportionate on each side, so sometimes you might find that small things like quality can vary from new in boutique to vintage. I find that sometimes attention to detail is a little bit more key with the vintage pieces. They have a little more features, and things like stitching and just the way it's shaped tend to be better than some of the newer bags. I had to start over again. I actually think that the square mini is probably my favorite shape, and I would probably have gone for the vintage square mini in caviar with gold hardware, and I would even have loved to have gotten a small classic flap in black with gold hardware as well, although they are pretty similar, because I actually find that the classic flap is a little bit more versatile because you've got those 4 grommets. The minis, they're good, but they are extremely small, and you can only really wear them crossbody, unless some people do this like that, but I just think that looks kind of awkward, which is why I don't tend to do it. I have been collecting Chanel bags for like maybe 4 years now, so I've seen a lot of things change over the years, and in terms of mini bags they have definitely been bringing out a whole lot of different variations, like the perfect fit, the pearl crush mini where you've got like the adjustability of the chain, which is definitely a game changer, although I do still feel like these chains are better, and the way that you can adjust them from the inside is just as good as the pearl crush mini. I'm not a huge fan of those myself, just because I find that the ball, it's a bit hard to store, and I don't love the leathers on those bags. They're very soft and the chain is very thin. I just don't like them as much, but they are another option. And I've even seen you know, the perfect fit mini and those iridescent finishes. I actually am quite liking those, but a lot of people have found that the quilting on those is also a little bit strange, like there's weird little marks all through the calf skin. So anyway, let me know guys, if you were going to get a Chanel mini, which one you would get. Would you go vintage? Would you go for the rectangle? Would you go for the square? I have gone crazy and I could not decide which one to get, so over the years I've collected different styles, but yeah, there is so much to explore with Chanel minis, and I think they are a good little bag for a first Chanel bag, because they are a lot cheaper than the classic flaps, and you know, if you're only going to get one, maybe you just want a little Chanel bag. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my video today, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye!